Imagine that you could wander through the world of dreams. Project Dreamscape by Undine Studios attempts to guide you through this very same surreal world with their unique set collection game. Will playing Project Dreamscape help you sleep in peace tonight? Or is it a waking nightmare? Let's find out by taking a look at what Project Dreamscape is all about, followed by my thoughts on it. In Project Dreamscape, scientists have invented a machine that can tap into a person's dreams and make them real. However, only the strongest minds, those who can control their dreaming, are able to utilize the machine. Therefore, players will compete to determine that who among them is the strongest dreamer by collecting dream cards on their turn with the goal of chaining matching dream types together. The more dream cards a participant chains together, the more points that chain will score. The participant with the most points at the end of the game wakes up a winner. Now, this is accomplished with a deck of 52 sleep cards, each of which has 2 different dream types on it. Each player has 2 stacks of cards. The first is the Deep Sleep stack, which is comprised of face-down cards, and the second will be face-up cards called Dream cards. On a player's turn, they first have the option to take 1 card from the face-down central deck and add it to the face-down sleep stack that they have. The cards in the face-down stack act as the player's currency throughout the game. So, the more of these cards that you have, the more you can do on your turn. However, collecting too many of these cards can hurt your final score, so don't get too greedy. Next on their turn, the player buys cards from either those face-up in the center of the play area or those that they have reserved on a previous turn using a special action. Players may purchase as many cards as they can afford, but they must always purchase at least 1. A card's price is based on its distance from the face-down central deck, with the closest card costing 5 points, down to 1 point for the furthest card. When a card is purchased, it is placed face-up on top of their stack of face-up dream cards. Orientation at this point does not matter. Then, one of the 2 special actions on that card is selected and then performed. The remaining unpurchased cards are then slid down to the less expensive slots, and the row is repopulated up to 5 cards, and play continues with the next player. And the game continues this way until there aren't enough cards remaining in the sleep deck to repopulate this central row back up to 5 cards. Scoring is based on the chains of similar cards that the players have in their face-up dream cards. The longer the chains, the higher the points. When calculating chains, card orientation still doesn't matter, just as long as the cards are adjacent to each other in the row. So that's an overview of Project Dreamscape, a set collection card game that incorporates some pretty interesting chaining in its scoring. And while I found the game's set collection methods interesting, I wonder if the scoring system may be a little bit tricky, especially for younger players. The game also plays up to 4 players, but I also wonder if it may become too chaotic with more than 3. The game's quirky artwork helps to set this stage of this dreamy environment, and the scoring was neat. I liked how the currency counts as negative points, and it was interesting while playing to find that balance between the 2. While I was playing it, that aspect of it felt a little bit like Hearthstone, where you start out with not enough currency to really do what you want, but by the end of the game, you have more than enough of it. So it helps the game to ramp up as you go along. But in some games of it, I only felt a sense of priority in my decision-making for the first half of the game. When you got enough currency, that prioritization wasn't really there anymore. I would have also liked to have seen the card abilities have a bit more bite to them, more consequences and payoff when they're played. But that's a tricky balance to achieve in a game like this. Too much take that, and the game becomes just a chaotic mess. But not enough, and it feels like you have a multiplayer solitaire. Now, in the end, I kept feeling like Project Dreamscape's card abilities were a little too conservative for my own tastes, and I would have liked to have seen some abilities that offered a little more player interaction. However, there was an expansion deck included in the box, which added several more advanced card types, and these new card abilities may achieve that very thing I was looking for. So, if you're looking for a card game with a slightly different take on set collection and scoring, then Project Dreamscape is definitely worth a try. Also worth trying? The Dice Tower and Pair of Dice Paradise YouTube channels, where you'll find more board game news, reviews, and commentary. And for even more content, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. But until next time, I've been Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, saying thanks and take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
While playing Project